Welcome to the Stronger, Fitter, Happier podcast. I'm your host Vin, and what you're about to listen to is an interview I did about a year ago now actually with a lady called Anika Lad. Anika Lad also goes by the name of Date Masi. So if you're someone who follows her on Instagram, that's the name you probably know of rather than her real name. Now, what Anika does for a living is arrange dates. So she puts on singles events. Actually, she started doing couples events too, but she puts on these events for Asian singles mostly to meet other people. And what she does is put the fun back into dating. So she puts on these fun events where people can meet, get together, and then kind of meet people in a more relaxed environment where you're not under a pressure situation. So you might be thinking, why have I got someone like that on a podcast that's mostly based around kind of fitness, health, changing your body and becoming happier? Well, there's a big kind of insight I think she has to add. So I found her very inspiring. This podcast isn't just about kind of getting in shape or improving your health or improving your fitness. It's also about improving your life, becoming happier with your life. So I feel she can kind of give that value to this podcast. So the reason why I felt that was because she does a job that's not quite typical of an Asian person. What I mean by that is when you start your own business or you do something like this, it's not typically in the kind of dating environment. It's not a job that you would kind of hear most people in, especially in the Asian community. And I thought that was really inspiring that she's taken a leap into something she's passionate about. And I thought speaking about how she got into it and sharing that insight into how she got into this career would be really basically thought-provoking and also inspiring to the people who listen to this podcast. And hopefully you get inspiration to start following your passion or your dream and ultimately live a happier life. So I hope you enjoy this podcast. Let us know what you think at the end. And yeah, I'll let her take it away. Welcome to the Stronger, Fitter, Happier podcast. I am your host Vin, and today I am joined by the wonderful Anika Lad. So Anika has an alias, an online alias. So for those of you who don't know, she is also known as Date Masi. So this is something new we're starting. So it's like an interview series or something that we're doing on the podcast. And we're also going to be recording some video footage as well. So if you're listening to this on the podcast, feel free to go and check out the video. I'll link it somewhere because I don't know where I'm posting it just yet.
Okay.
But anyway, let's get to who you are, why we're here, and what we're doing on this whole interview thing that we're starting. So basically, I've invited you to come onto this podcast because I feel you have something special to share with our audience. So the podcast is obviously called Stronger, Fitter, Happier, and I feel like you potentially, let's see how this turns out, potentially could share something that could help people feel stronger, fitter, happier, or lead a stronger, fitter, happier life. Mm-hmm. So let's just introduce who you are first of all. So the way I know you, I don't know you that well. I think I've only met you. How many times have we met?
We met in person once.
Yeah.
And then we spoke on the phone a few times.
Yeah. So I don't know you that well.
But you feel like you do. That's the main thing.
Yeah. This is why it's good. This is why I wanted you on here.
The joys of social media make you feel like you know everyone.
Yeah, exactly. So I know you as Date Masi and Anika.
Which one do you know me more as?
I'm not actually sure. I think more Date Masi because I see your content on Date Masi a bit more. So Date Masi, in my understanding, is someone who sets up. Is it only Asian people you work with?
Yeah.
Yeah, so sets up Asian people or like helps Asian people find other people, like so kind of partners, and you're like a dating agency kind of thing, but a one-man band or one-woman band.
One Masi band, yes.
Yeah. Anyway, but rather than me trying to introduce who you are, why don't you introduce yourself? So just explain who you are, what you do, and we can go from there.
Okay, so day to day, I am Anika Lad. Yes,
Yep.
I'm. What can I say? A woman in my 30s. I'm not going to tell you exactly how old I am. But the name Masi, don't be fooled by it. I'm not an old buddhi who's annoying and pokes you at a wedding and asks you when you get married. I'm a person in my 30s, like I said, who understands dating and how dating's changed so much just in the last decade, let alone anything else. So yeah, day to day, I'm Anika. And I actually, I'm an event professional. I have been in events for 15 years or so now. But people know me as Date Masi. So I started this company 4 years ago because I saw how many people were struggling to meet people. I myself was with my partner at the time, but I was surrounded by friends and family who were all struggling to meet and just connect. And so I decided to start running events to kind of bring them together.
Right. Well, that kind of brings me on to the point why I kind of invited you onto this podcast.
Okay.
And new video kind of podcast as well.
Yeah.
So the reason why I wanted to bring you on here, because your job is not like the new business that you have or the 4 year business that you have is quite, it's not normal for an Asian person to be running this type of service for someone. So one, I wanted to question you on like how you got started, because I think if you share that kind of journey of how you got started and everything, it's quite inspirational to the people who listen to this.
Yeah.
So from that, it could help people lead a happier life.
Mm-hmm.
The other reason why is because I can't even think of the other reason why. There was two reasons why in my head, but yeah.
How I make people feel happy.
yeah, basically, yeah. That's actually exactly what it was. So your career, I feel it helps people make it, like, you know, bringing love to someone's life is something that is massive, and it's a really big part of someone's life and happiness.
I suppose we're similar in that aspect. You see a transformation in terms of somebody comes to you and says, I'm not happy about the way I am with my body or my fitness. People come to me and say, I need help in my dating career, or I want to meet somebody. And when it does work and I've had a success out of it, or even, to be honest, not even, for me, the end goal is not always about a wedding. And I think that's the misconception. Everyone always thinks, the first question everyone always asks me, how many weddings have you had? How many weddings have you had? Yes, I've had 5 weddings, which I'm completely proud of.
What, as in you've been married 5 times?
I've been married 5, yes, just don't talk Date Masi that. No, I've had 5 weddings out of it, and I've even had my first Date Masi baby out of it, which is brilliant. But that's the rewarding part for me. But for me, I see the transformation from when they come to my events.
Yeah.
Literally, they're so nervous, which is natural. Like, I'm the same when I go to any networking events. Those first 5 minutes are always nerve-wracking. And I see the difference when they leave 4 hours later. They're hugging me, and literally their shoulders have dropped, and I've just made dating not daunting. It sounds so cheesy, but it's true. Literally, they walk away and they leave hugging me going, I can't believe this was a dating event.
Yeah.
And that is probably like the biggest smile, and a bit like yourself when you can see a transformation from somebody from 1 month to 3 months.
Yeah.
I see it within 4 hours, or I see it over a few events and things like that. So,
or even longer until like lead up to
and if they are in a relationship as well, and like they keep in contact with me, and to be honest, the other part is that the reason, to some degree, like, we are different, or as in Date Masi is different. And one thing I've noticed, we become friends with people who come to our events. We get invited to birthday parties, we get invited to housewarmings and things like that. So people don't just see us as a business. They see us more as like, oh, actually, I really like them. They're really nice. And, you don't hear that very often.
Yeah.
Like, you don't see that crossover.
Yeah, because normally when you go to like kind of dating agencies or companies, they're very big organizations. They're not run by often, or like a dating service or dating events, they're not often run by one person.
Yeah.
It's just like not service based. It's more like an app, or you're connecting people, whereas you're connecting people but providing a experience through connecting people as well.
No, it's true. And that's why, like, even with people always say to me, do you have an app? Do you have I've got a website, but do we have a profile? Can we see who's coming to the events? And I'm against that.
Yeah.
For that very reason, I'm like, no, come to an event. I'm a strong believer that when you meet somebody, you'll know whether you like somebody or not within 3 seconds. You don't get that over messaging and then missed messaging or, apps and we're in this swipe left, swipe right generation. And that's not just in dating. It's with anything. You go to any function, even if you are single or married, we're in that generation where we just literally want everything instant.
Yeah.
And that's why I find that events is a lot better, that you invest 4 hours, you get to meet 30 or 40 people and you walk away from it and you've gained a lot more rather than wait. Like, for one, setting up a profile for yourself is the hardest thing. I wouldn't even be able to write about myself, let alone anything else. And then you spend 3 months trying to talk to somebody, whether it's going to lead to even a coffee or whatever. You've wasted 3 months of your life. Here you've got literally...
Yeah, and you never know on an app. You could swipe left or I don't know. I've never been on it. So
that's good to know.
Swipe left or right. I don't know which way you go for the person you don't want. Yeah. But you could have swiped left on the person that could have been the love of your life.
Yeah, and this is...
Just because of how they look or...
So many missed opportunities.
A picture.
Yeah, and I think even with the events as well... Yes, obviously it is about first impressions. It's, everyone walks in and they scope out the room and go, oh, who's the good looking one? Who's the, I'm not sure about her and whatnot. And I try and tell people, please don't do that. I know we're in this generation where we do that, but more times than not, it's so funny because I see it that the guy's always drawn to the attractive girl or the girls are always attracted to this one guy. But obviously I see the feedback afterwards. And there'll be a couple of people there with really brilliant personalities. Yeah. And because of the activities, their personalities come out and they're the ones that walk away with the most amount of ticks, not the good looking ones.
Yeah.
So I'm a strong believer that let people meet the real you. And that's what all my events are pretty much like.
It lets people kind of let their hair down. And
yeah.
Stuff like
and
that.
I think that's what it is like. Obviously I run all activity-based events and that is my aim. I won't do speed dating. I won't do other events because I'm a strong believer that the activity works as a focus and you don't have to struggle for conversation. And so therefore you're in a team, you get to know people and people get to just know you. And they see what you're like. Your whole guard is dropped completely. You don't realise it.
You can't put on a front like...
You can't, yeah. If you're in a team, let's say it's a quiz, and you've got to all work together to try and get the answer. But once...
People can see if you're a dick or not.
Basically, yeah. But the other thing is as well, like, I design all the questions around so that they're going to spark conversation. So through the questions, I might do something about anatomy in there. So you're going to find out if somebody's a doctor or not. And you're never going to have to ask that question, like, what do you do for a living? Because... people hate asking that question. Yeah. What do you do? Where
Unless
do you
are
work?
A doctor, because then they can go, I'm a doctor.
Well, yeah, but sometimes they don't want to know because, being in the Asian culture, like, oh God, they're just going to ring me and ask me for like free advice or something.
Actually, there's, the worst thing is when people are actually into fitness. So when you ask hobbies, I don't know what it is, maybe you can tell me. Not that I've experienced this, but I see it on, what's that no likey program called? Take Me Out.
Oh, Take Me Out, yeah.
So on Take Me Out, if there's a personal trainer or anyone who's into fitness, why do all the girls turn the lights off?
Turn the lights off? Maybe because they feel like they're going to be judged.
Oh, okay.
They're going to be like, oh, he's not going to like my bingo wings.
Well, luckily, I don't have to find a partner now.
I thought it'd be the other way around, that people would want to go after fitness trainers because they know that they're going to be...
No, literally. Have you ever watched the program?
Yeah, I have watched it.
So most of the people, like, lights go off when it's anything fitness-based or they're a sports player or they take part in some kind of physical activity.
So there's certain professions out there. I suppose it's like when people do go speed dating, they always lie about their profession. They'll try out saying that they're a pilot or they're an air stewardess or something.
Really?
Well, I think that's the other thing. Like with dating as well, you need to be memorable, and there's so much pressure about that. It's like
so people lie, but doesn't it just come out afterwards?
Pretty much. But that's the thing. Again, you can lie online. You can't lie in person, or you can, but eventually you are going to get caught out. So, and I think, like I said, you can lie within the first 5 minutes, but after quite a few hours, it's gonna come out eventually. So,
well, I mean, we'll come back to some of the events and what you actually do within your work and stuff like that. But what I kind of wanted to get out of you was like, how did you get to this position? So basically, one of the questions I'm going to be asking in this series of interviews that I'm going to be doing is, how did we get to this moment here? Like, you talking to me.
Well, I offered you for a cup of tea and you didn't want to.
But as in, like, how did you get to this moment in terms of, like, where you are today in your business to kind of talking to me today? Mm-hmm. Forget, obviously, talking to me today, but as in, like, how did you get to today? Like from where you started.
What the journey's been like, basically.
Yeah, basically. Like what's happened? Like how did Date Masi start?
Okay, so like I said, I've been in events for about 15 years or so.
Yeah.
And most of the events I used to do, so I used to work for businesses and I'd do a lot of team building. So a lot of trying to boost morale in the offices. Most of the times you'd be working with 200-300 people in a business, but on different floors, and no one would interact. They used to do a lot of team building activities, and I used to see the effects that has. You've got people that should be really working together on a regular basis, but they don't. And and obviously in this day and age, everyone just speaks over email. So I used to organise these team building activities, and I could see the difference it made before the event and after the event, how people would be engaging with people that they wouldn't normally and things like that. So the idea sparred from there, and obviously I had the expertise of events. And so it actually started 10 years ago, my journey.
Okay.
So again, I was with my partner at the time, but I had a lot of friends and family around me who were struggling to meet people. So I was like, let me try and do a different kind of event. Let me try and do like a bowling event or a golf day or something like that where there is an activity and see whether this works. And I did 2 events then about 10 years ago, and they were both really successful. There was nothing about profit. There was no end game there. It was just, let me see whether this works. Really, really successful. And at the time, I used to be part of my community. Yeah. I used to organise events for the community. So when I did those 2 events, everyone just thought they were only for, because I'd run them, they were only for my community. Nobody else could attend the events. Okay. So I was like, well, okay, let me try. Then,
sorry to interrupt. Yeah. When you say your community, what do you mean?
I'm part of. I'm Gujarati, and there's my surname's Lad, so there's a whole community of lads and mysteries and people like that.
Oh, I see. Together. Okay.
So I used to be part of our youth team, and we used to organise events, Christmas parties, things like that. And so when I did this event, which was my own event, because I had run it, everyone associated that I was doing it for my community as well. So there was a bit of a confusion, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So, so I did the 2 events. Then my partner at the time proposed to me, and we got married. And so commitments took over. I got married, but then once I got married, I inherited another family who were then saying to me, "Oh, can you do any?" I had literally a whole new pool of people saying to me, "Well, we're single. Can you do something for us?" And I was working and things like that, and I just didn't have the time.
So these events were set up to help people meet people?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So these 2 events that I did were like a bowling and a golf day 10 years ago, and they were literally just to see whether this new concept would work, and it did. Then I got married, commitments took over, and I was working, and I was still doing corporate events and still doing team building. And then I decided, actually, there was something in me saying, like, and in that time as well, everyone kept saying to me, "Oh, it should be really great if you could do another event and stuff like that." But I was like, if I do it, I want to broaden it out. I don't want it I don't want it to be done under me. I want it to have a name so that it can attract other people. It's not just for the Gujarati community or the only mystery community and things like that. So I was working, and then I chose to leave the company that I was working for and pursue this, because I was like, let me see if this can work. And that was 4 years ago. So I left my company that I was working for, which I absolutely loved. But I'd gained so much knowledge from doing a lot of team building with them. And yeah, I set up Date Masi, and the name took a while to kind of conjure up. But somebody called me at a barbecue when they saw me because clearly there was a couple there. They liked each other, just didn't know how to go about it. And I was just watching them. And the guy who was next to me is like, "You're such a Date Masi. Look at you trying to set them up." And I was just like, and the name just stuck with me. And then when it came to setting up the company, I was just like, looking for loads of inspiration, what kind of names? And I was just like, Date Masi. I was like, it pretty much says what it is. Yeah. Like, it is catchy.
It's a dating service.
It's a dating service.
Because of the word Masi.
Yeah, you know that it's going to be the Asian culture. Yes, I do understand that the name Masi does kind of, people do question it when they meet me. They're like, "You're not what I was expecting."
Yeah, because you're not an old lady.
Yeah, exactly. So they, a lot of people, sometimes they are like, "Oh, I've had other people say, "Oh, Date Masi, does that mean that you set us up with Masis?" I'm like, "No, it doesn't mean that at all. It's not a cougar agency at all or anything like that." So yeah, the name literally, I was like, let me see if this works. And it did. And the response was just like, people just said, "Look, it's catchy. It stays in our mind." And yeah, kind of that was it 4 years ago.
Yeah. For anyone who doesn't know what Masi means,
Yes.
it means auntie and specifically mother, like your mum's sister.
Yeah. The relation is auntie. But within the Asian community, you always tend to, if somebody's older than you, you're always going to call them a Masi.
Yeah.
Or something
out
like that.
Of respect.
Out
like
of
when
respect.
you say, oh, like, that's my, or like, hello auntie, it's like, you're typically addressing someone who's a lot older than you.
Yeah, so sometimes you're not even related to them, but it's out of respect you'd call them that. But also the reputation of a Masi at a wedding is always a matchmaker.
Yeah.
So...
Annoying matchmaker.
Annoying,
actually.
yeah.
So
The ones that...
you kind of shot yourself in the foot a little bit with the name.
Yeah, a little bit. But like I said, it's just... it's kind of stuck, and now I just get referred to...
Yeah.
I get referred to as Date Masi rather than I get referred to as Anika.
Okay.
Which is...
annoying or not?
It's fine. Occasionally you just get called Masi across the room from somewhere and you're like, whoa, where did that come from?
Oh.
But I feel like, well, at least the brand is recognisable.
Yeah.
And people know me for it now.
So there's something else I wanted to pick with you about is what's with the red? So for those of you who are just listening and not watching, Anika always wears red. Well, every time... Well, I've only met you once before this, but anything I see online as well, you're always wearing red lipstick, red top. Yeah, actually got... Oh my God, you got pink nail varnish.
I've got pink nail varnish on. I know.
But I'm trying to see if you got any other red accessories.
No.
But, yeah, so red is your colour. What's with that?
Red is my brand.
Okay.
And so I've always associated... So my brand is always red. Anything I like if it's red, it's kind of linked back to my brand. And the reason I always wear red is when I network for my business, I started off wearing red because then that way people remember you, and it's worked. So every time I go to a networking event, I always wear red. For one, it stands out, but also that is my brand. So I don't wear, like for yourself, you would wear a branded t-shirt which says Body and Beyond. You would, because that's your brand.
Yeah.
So, and at a networking event, I would actually say to do that because, you know, you rather than walking around giving business cards, that's full branding for yourself. So I do the same.
I let this do the talking.
I'm
messing around.
Well, I'll let this do the talking too as well.
I'm only messing around.
But so it's from day one I've done it, and it's worked that to the point that I've been to one event where I was rushing and I went and I wasn't wearing red, and everybody was like, "Where's the red? Where's the red?" It's just not Date Masi without the red. And
see, I would just mix it up sometimes and just come in a different colour.
Well, that's what I mean. It threw people.
It
completely threw people.
Because that would make people remember you even more because you didn't wear red that one event.
What, you wore grey?
Have an off day.
No, that's the only. I mean, that's another topic. But when you've got your own business, you can't have an off day. That's one thing I've noticed, and my brand as well is all about being fun and your personality and...
Well, I would disagree, actually.
Oh, really?
I feel like you can have an off day. You're allowed to be human and you're allowed to kind of let, I don't know, like your emotions show, and it also makes people connect with you a bit better, I think, personally. So if you're having a day where you just can't be asked to post or... I don't know. Yeah. I think sharing that story sometimes helps your audience connect with you.
Oh, no, I think in that aspect, yeah. If you've got a strong enough topic and you want to kind of share it and you feel that people will resonate with it, then definitely. Yeah. But I think from my perspective, what I'm saying is that on the day of the event, when people come, if I'm having a really rough day, so I suppose it's like if you're training somebody and you're having a really rough day, you've got two options. You either tell them what's going on, or you suck it up and deal with it, and then deal with that when you get home. Because at the end of the day, they might understand.
I totally get like that. When you're trying to provide a service, you provide the service.
Because that's what people have signed up for, and that, you know, as much as they're going to be, they're going to feel for you if you are having a bad day. They're like, well, actually, I came.
Yeah, you paid your money.
Yeah, I paid my money. All right, you know, I wanted to come for a fun event, and she was in a really bad mood. That's
100% agree with you. That's a pet peeve of mine when business owners kind of bring their personal life into their business in a negative way, and it affects the customer's experience.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, like I said, for me, my whole thing is about being fun, letting your personality shine, so that I can't really be there and be like, oh God, like, you know, I'm having a rough day. And also people, obviously, that when they come to my events, they're looking at me for guidance to say, help me, I want to talk to this person. So I've got to be a mediator and things like that. So
you kind of told me how you've got to here and how it started and what you did and stuff, but I feel like you've skipped past any problems that have, any bumps in the road that have occurred. So I'm sure 4 years, you must have felt like kind of when you first transitioned or started even Date Masi, because I know you're running, like, you're doing work then, and like you had to change your job and things like that. But what made you even want to get into it? Like, as in, how did you actually start it? What gave you the confidence to go for it? Because I'm sure there's a lot of people listening who might have an idea, or they're in a job where they don't typically like, or they don't mind, but it's not what's their true calling. So, like, how did you get to where you are? What gave you the confidence to actually start? And when you did start, what kind of roadblocks and what obstacles did you face? And
well, I think the first event, I literally just saw it as a tester. I was like, let's try this and see what happens. And I did not expect it to sort of the way it is now, to be honest. Tried it out. It was really successful. People came to it and they were like, wow, this is really different. And that was the thing. So I kind of gained the feedback from people. What is it that they liked? And then kind of took me on to the next event. I was like, let's try another event. Let's try different things and things like that. And it kind of just went from there. But the whole thing was that you've got to make sure you just keep remembering why you're doing it. For me, I could see it from that first event. I could see, and I think with any person that runs events, or even like yourself, when you can see in front of you the changes that you're making, or the rewards, then that spurs you on to do something else. If it was a bad event, I'd probably be like, okay, this isn't going to work. People don't like the name, or they don't like the activities and stuff like that. But yeah, the first event went really well, and I was like, okay, let's try another one. And the demand just grew. And then with what I'm quite fortunate with my business is that it all pretty much works on recommendation. A lot of people can always say to me, oh, do you advertise? Do you do this? And I was like, no. I mean, I do advertise, but
that's brilliant.
Mainly people come to the event, they've had a great time, they'll go away and tell 5 other people.
Okay.
And then the next event comes around, that demand grows, and vice versa. And I now, because of what I do, people recommend me. So when they meet me, they're just like, oh, I've heard your event's really good. I want to come to it. So, you know, no amount of advert's going to do that for you. Word of mouth has worked really well for me.
When you first started, like when you first went for that first event, what were your initial thoughts? Like, how long were you kind of thinking about it? Were you teetering around for a long time thinking, oh, should I transition into doing something like this, like a dating kind of service? Or was that like, did that ever cross your mind, or was it just like, I'm waking up one day and you just did it?
I think with me, like, I think even with my business, if you look at it, there's so much more I can do with it. But for me, my speciality is events. It's a niche subject. It's what I'm good at, and I'm sticking to that. So that's one thing I would tell people: stick to what you're good at. You're going to be everyone's going to say to you, oh, why don't you do this? Why don't you do that? Branch out. And then before you know it, your resources are being stretched.
Yeah.
My speciality is events. That's what I stick to. And I always wanted to do events where I can be myself. Obviously, I run a lot of corporate events. I love doing them, bigger budgets and all the rest of it. But you can't, you know, you're kind of running it behind the scenes. I'm fortunate I get to run these events and be there, and I don't have to hide. I'm not hiding in the kitchen crying my eyes out when things have gone wrong. That's the part you don't see about me. At these events, obviously, you know, I'm there and
I'm front of house.
Yeah, and that's.
So do you enjoy that side of things?
I do.
Entertaining and.
Yeah, I do, and I think, like I said, I'm very proud of the fact that it's a personable business. So, like, from the minute somebody books, they're constantly dealing with me. I'm not just a website. You book a ticket and then you just turn up, and you don't know who the host is and everything. And I think it actually helps because I've had that one contact with one person. When they arrive, a lot of people say to me, I suppose it's like with you because you do videos as well, they feel like they already know you. So that helped, that's pretty much taken away like some of their nerves. They're like, at least I know the organizer. So, and obviously anybody that's coming on their own, which I actually tell people to come on their own, I think it's a lot beneficial. I look after them a lot more.
Okay.
So I'm aware if somebody's coming on their own, I've got my guest list, I know who's coming. And I always register everybody so that I get to see them, I remember them, and I know my spreadsheet off by heart by that stage.
Oh, okay, so you kind of almost vet people before they come to the events, or not really?
You do vet them. You're in conversation with them, but it's more a case of that you. I know that when if I've had conversation with them, if they've had any concerns, or they're like, oh, I'm really nervous about this, or this is my situation and stuff like that, I remember that sort of stuff. So when they do come and they're completely nervous, just by meeting me, they're like, okay, right, that half the battle's over. They're like, recognize a familiar face. Then I will pass them on to my helpers, who take them to the bar and then ease them into the event, and then ask them if they want to mingle with anyone. But we just kind of do it at their own pace. It's not forced or anything like that. So I'm very conscious that if somebody's coming on their own, I look after them. Same way if I go to a networking event. Like I said, I might come across really confident, but I actually brick myself every time we go, just because I think anyone's like that. You walk into a room and you try and suss it out, and you're like, and you're looking for a familiar face, and half the time it is always just the organizer. Yeah. And if they're busy, you're like, what do I do? So that's why I always make sure, right, I'll speak to them. Obviously, I am busy. I'm registering everyone else, but I try my ultimate and hardest to ease them in. But at the event, I speak to every single person.
Yeah. It's also quite good to kind of share as well that you don't always feel confident, because like a lot of people kind of listen to this might be like, well, it's good, it's easy for her. Yeah. She's a very confident person. So it's fine for her to start a business. Yeah. Or someone listening saying it's fine for her to say for me to come to her event.
Easier said than
she's
done.
confident. Other people coming are quite confident, but I'm not. But you as the organizer probably not, like, as in, you're confident in areas that you're confident in, but then you still have doubts.
Oh yeah, I think everyone does have that, and I think that is the perception. Everyone always thinks, oh, like you said, it's fine. What does she worry about? And to be honest, most of the reason I do half of these events is actually for shy people. Yeah. Because it's speed dating or any other dating events where it's just you're left to mingle. I know even I would struggle with that. Yeah. It's easier said than done. Walk into a bar, grab a drink, and talk to somebody. Who are you going to talk to?
Yeah, I don't. I wouldn't be able to kind of.
Yeah, and half the time people are either formed their groups. You don't want to like edge in on someone else's conversation and things like that. And so before you know it, you just kind of get left behind. Yeah. So
I'd probably be that kind of person. Yeah, as well.
But again, like talking to you now, I would think you're really confident.
Sorry about that interruption, guys. I know Anika was about to say something really important, but the video cut out and it threw us off track, and then we decided to take a break. So I'm really sorry, but we came back and we carried on our conversation. I hope you enjoy the rest of the interview. Yeah, one of the questions I wanted to ask you was, do you feel you're successful? And the reason why I'm asking that is because a lot of people listening will think you're 4 years into a business, you've kind of built something up and you've made it, and like for someone who's like thinking of starting something or thinking of getting into something that they're passionate about but they're not quite sure of if they should do it or not, they look at people like you or like anyone who's successful or appears to be successful as like almost like they some people will be inspired by it, and a lot of people will be put off by it. They're like, it takes a lot of work to get there, and I just don't think I can do it. So, do you feel like you're successful?
I do think I'm successful. I'm surprised at how far I've come in 4 years. When I say I think I'm successful, it's because I feel like my brand's become quite well known. So now when I meet people and they're like, oh, you're Anika. Oh, you're Date Masi. Okay. Like that. And so, if I go to family functions and stuff like that, it seems to be that people want to talk to me about it. It's not like, you go to other functions and stuff and people, they're doctors, lawyers, whatever, people might talk about it. But with mine, it seems to be like quite an open subject, and people want to know what I'm doing. Yeah. I suppose they all need my help, really. Yeah. So.
But and I think an important thing to remember is that where you started with it as well. So it wasn't like where you had experience in the game of like events, but you hadn't done anything. And the best thing that you did was to try something. Yeah.
It is scary, don't get me wrong, completely scary. I think you have to go in with it. Let's just try this and see what happens. I think a lot of people, the fear is obviously giving up and starting something and yes, I did that, but I think I kind of still had that in the back of my head that if it doesn't work, I can always go back to do this or whatever. So one of the other steps you can do is obviously start off and, you know, either if you are in full-time work, try and cut back your hours so you've got some time to spend on your business, go part-time or something like that. See where, you know, it is going to be a struggle because you're going to be working and running a business at the same time.
Yeah, it's hard.
But I would say that's probably easier steps to take rather than throwing yourself completely into it and alienating yourself. And I think the biggest challenge is about when you have your own business is you miss that interaction.
I think one unpopular piece of advice or advice that people don't like that I give out when someone tells me, oh, when can I make time to, or when I can't, I already do a lot. Like when I can't run a business, or I'm a mum, or I'm a, like, you know, I have other things in my life or whatever, or like I don't have time to find a partner.
Yes.
Or I don't have time to look after my health or fitness or whatever it is. What I always say to them is that it's not, you have to make it a priority. So you have to kind of like, use dead time. So time that you, like, you know, when you're like, you run your events on the weekends and things like that. So time when you're not working in your other job, you do this stuff, you work, you kind of put in the hours when you don't have, when you have more time. And the thing is cutting back, like, see, I always look at it as like, people like think, oh, like my plate's already full, I'll add on top of it. Yeah. And that's the recipe for disaster.
Yeah.
You have to take something off the plate and replace it. So like whether it's taking away from sleep or taking away from family or social events in the weekend, there's always time in your thing that, or like taking away time from like where you watch TV to do something or things like that. But you have to invest, basically.
I think, if it's important to you, you'll make the time.
Yeah.
That's one thing I've found, that it's like, I mean, one of the things it does, I mean, when you're running your business and you're working, one of the challenges I did find is that it does affect your relationships as well, to some degree. So, you know, there'll be days where, you know, you go to work, you come back, and then now in this day and age, you're constantly on your phone, you're answerable. So you're watching TV, but you're not really watching TV, you're answering emails, and your mind's on this and thinking, oh my God, let me do this, or, oh, I've just had an idea for a social media post, let me do this. And so you're never actually present. And, you know, while it's great, I'm promoting trying to get into relationships, your relationships can hinder as well.
Yeah. It is a bit of a difficult...
It's the catch-22, really.
Yeah.
But you do need the support of your partner as well. So.
With anything, you have to get support. And I think what the important thing to remember is, like, if you want to reap the rewards of something, you have to sow the seeds. Like, you have to kind of put in the work, and then you can eventually enjoy it. You can't just want something and then not be willing to kind of work for it and then kind of go from there.
No, I think that's true. I think it's just like the same with fitness and in dating. You've got to make the time and know that you've actually, you know, you've invested, you've like said, right, I'm going to go and I'm going to do this for this hour, or I'm going to go to this event or whatever, and put your full-hearted effort into it. Then if it doesn't work, that's fine, but at least you know that you're accountable for it. Exactly. You've got nothing else to blame. You say, okay, fine, it did work. Or something like that.
And that's the thing, like you said, you just try, you put yourself out there. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work.
I think one of the biggest regrets is not trying. Yeah. And that's one thing I've learned recently, is that having any regrets. Just walking away from not having regrets and saying, at least I know I tried. That's it. And
that applies to anything in life, not just anything. Work or business. Or whatever.
Exactly. So because you've got to live with that at the end of the day. And you know, it's all, well, everyone is always going to give you advice about, oh yeah, why don't you go to this gym, or why don't you do this, or why don't you go to this place, or whatever like that. You've got to do what's right for you and live with the decision yourself.
Yeah. One of the, obviously, you know, the name of the podcast is Stronger, Fitter, Happier.
Yep.
So what I wanted to know from you is what do you do to lead a stronger, fitter, happier life? And what does Stronger, Fitter, Happier mean to you as well? It doesn't have to be, if you're not a gym person, you don't do that. So don't worry. Stronger, I mean, like, stronger could mean mentally stronger. It could be mean physically stronger. It could mean like whatever makes you feel strong and powerful. It means that you go shopping with, I don't know, your friend Jamie. What makes you feel strong? Fitter, obviously, is going to be more related to exercise, but it doesn't have to necessarily be training in the gym or stuff that we do. It could be like going for a walk. It could be physical activity, dance, anything that you do to make yourself fitter, even if it is literally like you just tend to sit down a little less and you have a standing desk now. So whatever kind of, and then happier could literally be a whole can of worms. Whatever you do to make you feel happy. So yeah, what does it mean to you, and what do you do for yourself?
Happier, I suppose these days what I'm trying to do is not make excuses. So if there's somewhere I want to go, or somewhere like a new venue I want to try, or there's a friend's event coming up or something like that, I don't look out and see who wants to go. I'm like, right, I want to go, and so I'm going to make it happen.
Okay.
Right? And I never used to do that. I used to always like, let me ask whoever, and then everyone would be like, oh no, can't be, but, and then that's it. You lose out. And
I like that.
Yeah. Then you just sit there and you hear about how great it was, and you're like, I could have been there. Stronger, I'm trying to be a lot more positive these days, and I'm trying to, I'm learning how to be selfish, if that makes sense.
It makes
putting myself
sense.
First, and
that's a very strong. I feel it's a strong quality.
Yeah, and I'm trying to. If there's somewhere I don't want to go, I won't go now. Whereas before, I used to be so caught up in, what's it going to
saying yes? Yeah,
it's going to look bad if I don't go and things like that. And half the time I would go to an event, put on a brave face and be there, but I don't really want to be there, and I come back and I crash. And I'm the one that has to deal with the aftermath. Yeah. But no one sees that part of it. And fitness-wise, or I love walking, so I try and walk as much as I can. If I don't need to drive anywhere, and I love dancing. So one of my biggest things is if I can dance or go to a dancing event, I'd love to do that, but I also dance around my kitchen as well. Okay. So yeah, probably my highlight of the day, although I don't like cooking. The reason I like cooking now is because I get
music on.
I get to put my playlist on, and
I guess that could make you happier as well.
It does, and literally I will happily do the washing up if I know I can dance around and with my brush.
Alright. Yeah. There's a really good ways of kind of helping people kind of think about what this podcast's aim is to do is help obviously people lead stronger, fitter, happier lives, and I think that does kind of send that message across right well. So one, like, hopefully you're quite an inspiring person to other women or men even who are, considering maybe starting something, or like you might have even helped someone be inspired to come to one of your events and find love. So that is one way that you might, hopefully you've inspired other people. But in the other things, like sharing what you do to kind of, I don't think always people think about outside of the box of strength, fitness and health. So like, health, happiness. So a lot of times people tell me like, I don't lift weights and I don't do weightlifting and stuff, so I'm not strong. Like, but strong doesn't always mean physically strong because you're able to move a load from one area to the other, or like pick something up and put something down. Physically strong and flexibility, loads of other things. And I think you shared some good kind of insights into that. So wrapping up, what's the future for Date Masi and Anika as a whole?
Anika as a whole.
What are your future ambitions and goals and stuff?
I suppose, like I said, I think Date Masi, there's definitely a demand for it. Yeah. And I've seen that, like, with my last event, literally, I'd only put it on sale on Sunday and it's just gone crazy already. Yeah. So it's that in itself has been quite...
By the way, you can plug that event if you want.
Thanks. But no, I think definitely doing more events for Date Masi. There's loads of new ideas I want to try out as well.
Do you want this to become like a full-time thing for yourself?
I think there's scope to it. What it is, I don't want the novelty to wear off. I think that's what it is.
I don't think of it like this as then, do you have a purpose? Like, what's your life purpose? Like, what is it that brings you happiness and joy?
At the moment, it is probably Date Masi. Is the fact that I can...
beyond that. So like, as in, is it to help people find love and experience what you have with your husband? Is it like, what? I
think one thing I've learned about myself recently is... whether it's dating or anything, I love bringing people together. So whether it's a family function or whether it's dating, I just like being able to bring people together. And so if I can do that, whether it's...
So will that novelty ever wear off for you?
I don't think so, because I think I've definitely nailed it it's something embedded in me that I like to be able to get people together, and I can see that I've met. I love organising, and I love putting.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
So for me, like even just if it's a friends gathering, I love organising it and putting it together, and that satisfaction is what drives me to keep going.
So then what I'm basically trying to get at is that I personally don't think the novelty will ever wear off of Date Masi, because while it might not be that you do events around dating or pizza making events or bowling or the quiz nights, you'll always adapt in terms of like, the more we get into social media, the more the need will be to kind of have human interaction.
Yeah.
So whether we go into a VR world or everyone's listening to podcasts, and things like that, there'll be some sort of need for human interaction.
Yeah.
Whether it's not for dating or relationships, it might be for friendship. It might be for, I don't know, like-minded individuals for business or whatever. You there'll always be a need for your service, and there'll be a need to scratch your itch of helping people, bring people together.
Maybe, I suppose there will be.
So that's how I see it. Like my need is to help people feel fulfilled and happy in their life, and I do that right now through fitness and health, and obviously like I'm trying to expand that through like things like the podcast and stuff as well. So that's what I was trying to get at. So I don't think you have anything to worry about.
Oh, thanks. That's good to know.
And hopefully for anyone who's listening as well, you don't have to worry about like kind of, if you personally have like something that really really resonates with you, like, and it's something that's like really like you just can't stop thinking about, just go for it. Like go for whatever makes you happy, and don't kind of hold back. If it's something that's really important to you,
I think that's it's true. If you feel like there's something you really enjoy and that you feel like you're really good at and could benefit, just try it. That's the only thing you can do. It might work, it might not work, but at least you know. And if it does work, brilliant. Like, you know, it kind of spurs you on to do something else. But I think if someone said to me like, oh yeah, you're going to start your own business, like a couple of years ago, but no, that I was like, I was so fixated that now I'm always going to work for a company. But there was something inside me saying that no, as much as I enjoy doing events, I want to do my own events.
Yeah, that way you have full control.
Yeah, I want to be able to put my stamp on it, and that's what it is really. It's the same as like cake bakers. You can obviously there's loads of bakers out there, but you know everyone's got their niche or they've got their favourite flavour and stuff, and that's what you get known for. So. Speaking of cake, I'm really hungry.
Well, I was actually going to ask you any final thoughts or any piece of advice for anyone who's listening, but I think that actually really summarises well. Just go for it, just try it, and take it. See where the wind takes you. Yeah,
definitely. And I think, like I said, the main thing is that if you've if you've got an idea, run with it. It's always helpful if you've got somebody to support you, whether it's a partner, a family member, or something like that. Because one thing I've learned that there's so much I can achieve, but when you're in it, you doubt yourself so much. So my husband always reminds me, actually, you can do this. You can do. You're really good at it. You really enjoy it. And I'm like, oh yeah, but. I always literally that self-confidence just drops a bit. You're like, oh no.
Does your husband play quite a big role then in terms of supporting you?
Yeah. To be honest, I wouldn't have been able to do it without him. I think it was, he was like, look, he kind of saw he saw it in me before I could see it, basically. And every time I've doubted, saying, oh, I'm not sure about this, whatever, like that, we kind of talk it over. And he's like, you've got this.
Yeah.
And so, yes, it really does help that I have that support. But that doesn't come from, you don't always have to have a partner. As long as you've got, like I said, a parent or, even a friend or something, it kind of just gives you that extra confidence, because it's so easy to just forget about it. It's like having an accountability partner, really.
It's a massive thing, because I feel like people's self-doubt always comes from somewhere.
Yeah.
So it's like usually it comes from parents, or like not bad parenting, but somewhere down the line, or something, or a teacher, or someone's kind of made you feel a bit like you're not good enough.
Yeah, I think there's always that. And it's just
always a case of someone undoing that, like whether it's a partner in a relationship, whether it's a friend or a parent.
Yeah, or a mentor or someone,
finding someone to support you in what you're doing is amazing.
Yeah, and obviously when you've got your own business or anything, you need somebody to bounce ideas off, because, you're always going to think an idea is great until you say it out loud and go, I didn't think of that, or... things like that. So.
Well, if you're someone listening and you don't have that support or something, message one of us.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. We'll be your accountability partner.
Yeah, we'll support you. Yeah. But use this podcast or video or whatever
Yeah.
as support, or us as support. Saying that, where can people find you? And is there anything up on? I know you said there's an event coming up, so time to plug it away.
Okay.
So where can people find you?
So
Spill the beans.
Next time you see red, think of me. No, so I'm on Facebook, I'm on Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, so all the social medias. If you look
What's
for
your
my handles,
Yeah.
my love handles are here. It's Date Masi, so all one word.
Spell that just for anyone who doesn't know how to
So
spell.
it's DATE, so date, and then Masi, which is MASI, but all one word.
Okay.
So Facebook and Instagram.
I hope I'm following you on everything.
I hope so too. No, I think you are.
Yeah.
But I've got my website as well, which is datemasi.com. And as I mentioned, I've got an event coming up, which is on the 9th of September, but got promoted on Sunday. Tickets went on sale, and it's a TV and music quiz. Pub quiz at the Folly in Monument, and it's
In Central London?
In Central London. It's for late 20s to late 30s, so I always do like a 10-year age gap. Probably about 70 people will be coming to this event.
Wow. Plenty of fish to pick from.
Pretty much, yes. But I put everyone into teams according to their age group. So you're going to be, although it's a 10-year age gap, you're going to be in a team and be meeting people similar age groups.
Yeah.
And then the
quite
teams
sensible.
change throughout the event as well. But the whole idea is the quiz sparks conversation, so you don't have to.
Okay.
So all the questions are guaranteed to spark conversation, take you down memory lane, and you're going to find out whether someone's a MJ fan or...
So how can people kind of buy the tickets then?
They can go onto the website, which is datemasi.com, and buy the tickets. But they are selling very fast, and I've only got a few more tickets left. So you have to be
So
quick.
you have a gender...
Yeah, and that's the other thing. all my events are 50-50 split.
Oh, okay.
So that's the
equal
challenge.
opportunities.
Well, I think you said about challenges before. That's my biggest challenge with my job, but it's also my selling. My USP is the fact that I always make sure there's 50-50 split. Otherwise, I won't do the event.
Right. Brilliant.
So, yeah, you've got the guarantee that you're going to meet equal split and not 10 guys and 20 women, basically.
Okay. Well, sounds good.
Yeah, so yeah.
Well, thank you for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
And, I came to your house to
I
set
know.
up. But
It's all right.
Anyway, so if anyone's thinking, this is not my house. But yeah, thank you so much for coming on. And I really do think that people would have found this useful.
I think so, yeah.
Either they'll find love or they'll find some inspiration. One
They'll
or the
either
other.
be happy in love or happy with their body. That's all I'm saying.
So you've made it to the end, and I really hope you enjoyed that conversation. It's the third ever interview I've ever done, so bear with me on the questions front and my awkwardness. I will improve over time, but I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope it delivered on what I promised at the start. If it did, please share it with a friend. Please rate and review, comment, do the whole shebang. And if you'd like to learn a bit more about Anika and find out more about what she's doing, then check out the show notes if you're listening to this on the podcast, or in the description of this video if you're watching the video. And you will find out all her Instagram handles, her Facebook, and her website. So you can check out all the events she has on as well.